Hi, welcome to Design Spark Ask the Expert. Today I'm joined by Dominic Vega from Siemens, and we're going to be talking about energy management and energy monitoring. Hi, Dominic, would you like to say hello to Design Spark?
Hi, Greg, for sure. Thanks for having me. Hi to all of you out there. My name is Dominic Vega. As you already introduced, I'm working for Siemens as a business development and marketing manager in this topic of energy management, but also in this topic of digitalization, so solutions that come up with a system from hardware and software implemented at our customer sites.
Great. Dominic, if we kind of just start right at the beginning, what are the benefits that can be made from effective energy management?
Good question for beginning, big question. Well, there are a lot, but I think there are two main points that I wanted to emphasize here. It is, of course, about increasing efficiency. So in the end, about saving money, reducing costs. Just to mention this, the energy prices in Europe, for example, have risen an average of 19% the last 10 years. So I think most of us need to have an eye on that. And this is definitely a big point. So reducing my own demands and therefore reducing my costs in terms of my energy consumption. A second very important thing is nowadays, I would say, the topic of sustainability. So be more sustainable, reach my own sustainability targets or the targets of my company I work for, and also meet requirements like normative requirements or legal requirements that come up, and they are already in place, but they will come up increasingly in the next years. I'm sure about that. So two big things here: saving money, being more efficient, and of course reaching my sustainability targets and meeting the requirements that come up from a governmental perspective. And I think that the very cool thing about energy management is that by having those benefits in place, I additionally get more and more benefits out of it if I have laid the groundwork for it. So if I have the technical basis in my power distribution system, there will naturally come up a lot of benefits additionally, like being able to improve my maintenance cycles. So go into this topic of predictive maintenance, for example.
Yeah.
Doing campus organization things. So a lot of things that come up with having the data, but I need to set the groundwork.
Cool. So there's obviously there's a lot of talk around energy prices on the rise, and obviously from a lot of people, sustainability and how they're actually making improvements for sustainability. Now, with effective energy management, there are always improvements to be made. So once you get into that cycle, you can then start to improve and improve again. Is that right?
Totally, of course. This is something even some of those norms require from you. So you have to document how you keep on improving in your efficiency. But I do not want to scare you with those legal things. I think that the big point is really that you quite easily reach big savings, and I think this is really a point for all of us.
Okay, so if we were talking about measurement devices, I know there's a lot of different types of sensors that you offer in different devices. So what is primarily the difference between, say, power quality meters and multi-measuring devices and energy meters? Could you just explain some of the subtle differences between those?
Sure. You're totally right. There is quite a range in the portfolio. At least on the sensor level. So what we're talking about here in the metering device level, let's call it this way. Yes, I think we need those differentiation in the products because, of course, starting with values like current voltage and so on, I can more or less choose all of them. But then usually I want to go deeper, and I have special applications in my individual site, in my company or in my building. And maybe I want to have a multi-channel measuring system, or maybe I say, okay, I have very sensitive equipment for power quality. So for things change in the grid, especially these days when we have a we need different products here. And as you mentioned, we probably start with the lower functionality products like energy counters, just to know about my consumption, my demand.
Yeah.
And we go up to multifunctional devices that just can calculate more, can measure more values, can give me more data out of it. And we go up to the, let's say, end of scale or final really, really high-end devices for power quality analysis.
Yeah.
And maybe a second differentiation is, of course, quite easy, but important. How do I want to commission that, to install it, really? So do I have like a power distribution panel where I want to put my measuring device with the display in the front door, so panel mounting, or do I have like more in the installer market, a DIN rail setup, and I want to have my device right in place there? So it's a bit individual, and therefore we need a range. But I think, yeah, we can offer a consistent portfolio here.
Okay, that kind of leads nicely into my next question, maybe the differences in scale, because many companies will have energy management goals, but what advice would you give for those users who are taking their first steps? You know, how would you conduct a site assessment, for example, and what would be the difference between monitoring the individual equipment as against site monitoring on a whole?
Well, my very first advice would be take the first step. So this is the important thing here. Go into the action, do something. This is really the thing here, and then probably start by thinking about what do I want to reach. Is my purpose more to say, okay, I have one big consumer or a few big consumers, and I want to just monitor those consumers about their consumption or about their condition. It doesn't mind so much, but do I very much focus on a few single things in my system, or is it more? And I think most of us are more in the setting that they need to have information about a complete company or a complete site or a complete maybe even a campus or something like that. So to come into this topic, I would recommend to think about where are the very important points in my power distribution where I need data out of it, and then I start installing measuring devices at these points. And then I would hardly recommend to start also by thinking to have a good interaction, a good interplay between those sensor level, those hardware devices, and some kind of visualization. So some kind of software connectivity above it. I think one does not have to start with the high-end solution. You do not have to go full in this topic and like those blowing solutions with big software on premise and so on. It's not necessary, but you need a certain, let's call it, level of groundwork here. And I think it is important to have the right measuring devices in the sensor level and the right connectivity and visualization on premise.
Cool. Just this is a quick question. When we're talking around things like IoT, we always mention real-time data, but for energy efficiency, how important is real-time data to understand efficiency, or do users need to consider more the interval data accumulated over time periods?
Well, a good question, because we often speak about real-time data in the industries, in the automation environments, and this is very much important. So we need a very, very fast communication here. But concerning the energy management part, or the monitoring and analysis of my consumption, I think most of the users and most of the energy managers work in their reportings with mean time values, so with average values, 10 seconds or 15-minute mean time values. So it's not that important on a prior one for us to visualize this. And there's another important point coming up here, because it's not only the visualization. Of course, we have tools that show you real-time data of your consumption, but in the end, you have to historically archive them. So you have a big amount of data coming up if you really go into 1 second data values or even below. So I would naturally recommend to work with 10-second or 15-minute mean time values. Of course, if you want to have a look right now into your office or into your production line, we have the real-time data also available but I would not recommend to save this, to be honest.
Okay, so I'll probably put you on the spot now. What products from Siemens would you recommend for energy management? And could you maybe just explain a little bit more about the purpose?
So I think we already talked a little bit about those sensor level. So this is probably the most important level, of course, because here is where the data is created. I need to have measuring devices, and yeah, of course, from an electrical energy perspective, in the low voltage part, I would strongly recommend the 7KT and 7KM pack series, because this fulfills exactly what I talked about previously, that you have a consistent portfolio and you can choose according to your application the right device, and you are sure that they are interconnecting well. But always, I want to emphasize, do not only focus on measuring devices, especially if you are in the lucky situation that you build something up from a greenfield. You should consider that there are a lot of, and I can only speak for our portfolio, and I can say mostly all of the devices that are necessary in the power distribution. So from in-feed level with an air circuit breaker like the 3WA, going down via the 3VA MCCBs down to the really final circuit protection devices. We have a portfolio that has already those measurement and communication functionality included. So be aware of that you do not have always to choose a measuring device additionally, because you can also just take a protection or switching device which has the functionality inside, and yeah, do it this way. So this is the sensor level. I would strongly recommend here simply the brand Centron, to be honest, because the 7KT and 7KM packs and also all those protection devices are all in the line of Centron.
Yeah.
And then I would at least recommend to go one level above. So to choose one software or one device that collects the data and to visualize it. You can have a change of system here, but it makes things complicated often. So I would recommend to stay in this line at least one layer more above, and choose here the 7K and Power Center 3000. I brought one with you to show you it's really a very small device, so no issues about installation or something like that. It's a little IPC that comes pre-installed with a pre-installed firmware on it. So yeah, it's really a plug and operate device. Just connect your measuring, your sensor level here up to 32 devices, and then you have, without installing any software or knowing anything about IT or programming or whatever, you have a dashboard that you can access via IP, so just with any browser you use. And you see all the relevant data in one picture.
Yeah.
And you can really start with energy management with this device. I think, Greg, it would be cool if we have a couple of minutes, I would shortly switch into a live system to show how the actual interface would look if you use this device.
Absolutely, yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so let's just switch here.
Okay, great. So what I did now is just sharing my second screen here. And yeah, let's jump directly into the integrated web interface of the 7K and Power Center 3000. So all I have done so far is only typing in the IP address of the Power Center into my regular browser. So in this case, I use Google Chrome, but this doesn't matter. Any browser. I am right now on my laptop, on my regular PC. We can also access this interface via a tablet or a mobile phone, as it is built up with a responsive design. So I typed in my username, the password, and we go directly to the login. And this is really, this one single interface into my power distribution. So I have no software installed, but I get all the data immediately in this dashboard format. So I'm landing on an overview page, which is customizable. So in this case, I choose to have an archive chart regarding the trafo on my overview page, but I could easily change this by removing or changing this so-called widget, going to the widget library, and take any information I want to see on the very first page. And of course, I also see my project and the detailed information. So in this case, the project is named B166. It is actually the office building I'm sitting in. We have 6 floors, and just to check this, let's jump into the second floor. In the second floor, there are 2 measuring points for us important, so 2 areas we want to measure. Both are equipped with the 7km PAC 2200, and just to demonstrate this, I jump into one of them, and I see all the detailed device data here. Also, I choose an archive chart with the 15 minutes values. I have the device identification information. I have, of course, an active power chart with columns here. And I can, again, access the widget library and change or add or remove single information charts or single widgets, whatever this specific device gives us in this case. And maybe to also show this very, very shortly, because we talked about it, it's not all about the measuring devices. You can also, of course, integrate breakers or any other Modbus devices, but let's have a look on the breaker. So in this case, I have a 3VA molded case circuit breaker also in the system. And again, I just jump on this device and I see in the same interface the condition. So it's health indication, it's remaining lifetime, the status, so is the breaker closed or opened, and also, of course, the relevant data like the current per phase and so on, whatever I want to know here and whatever information the breaker gives to me. So really briefly, but I think we understand now, quite easy, out of the box, plug and operate. I do not have to install any software. I just equip my power distribution system with the 7kM Power Center 3000, commission my measuring points below it, and yeah, start with my energy monitoring projects. Okay, thanks for this chance. I will quit now the sharing and come back to you, Greg.
Dominic, that's great. Thanks for showing us the demo. Are there any other points you'd like to add before we move on to the next question?
I think we really can keep it as simple as that, but to sum it up, yes, I would recommend go with the 7KT, 7kM packs for measuring devices. Go with the Centron protection portfolio if you want to have those functionalities included in your protection devices like the 3VA and so on. And maybe just to highlight this one, because this is really the latest innovation, keep in mind that it is possible to monitor your consumptions and your energy values really down to the final circuit, so down to the final branch with the innovated portfolio of the circuit protection devices, with communication and measuring functionalities from the Centron portfolio. So this is it, yeah.
And as you mentioned previously, Siemens offer lots of products. So are there any additional products outside of these that you would recommend for implementing a successful monitoring strategy, for example?
Well, I would say we covered the sensor level quite well now. Yes, there are additional products that can come into place when we talk about the visualization and analyzing layer. So in the end, when we talk about the software that gives us the interface and gives us the opportunity to work smoothly with all those data from all those single devices. So we already saw one, the Power Center 3000, really my recommendation for all of those who start to come into these topics and who want to lay like a groundwork here. But again, I have to say, of course, there are different applications and there are different needs and requirements from our customers' side. So yes, there are several solutions. Spontaneously, I would say, have a look at, for example, the Centron Power Manager, which is a more bigger, more advanced solution, a more on-premise software for all of those who go a bit deeper into terms of reporting, who have very, very large projects covering and so on. Or maybe you feel more comfortable staying in your, let's say, automation-based or semantic-based environment. For example, if you're already using a tier portal, you can, of course, also integrate all those hardware level into other tools like the Semantic Energy Manager Pro or the Energy tier portal and so on. So don't worry about that. This is something I think it needs a bit of an advice maybe where you want to go there. Starting point is definitely the Power Center 3000, and we think about where to go to the next level.
Right. Okay. So a user starting ideally would need to consider buying a measuring device or several, and then software as well. Is that right?
I think it is right. In this terms, I said one sentence to that in the beginning of the interview. I think it's really not necessary to have this full-blown solution from the very beginning.
Okay.
But of course, you need to take a few thoughts, and I would recommend to at least go for the right measuring device at the right places in your distribution. You do not have to take too many into account, but to have the right consumers monitored. And then you have, I would recommend to have a fitting solution above that gives you the visualization and that makes it easy to access these data. So it makes it easy to install, to commission, to access it from different user sites and from different devices maybe also. And this is, I think, the most important point here. So yes,
Yeah.
starting point would be a set of devices and software.
Okay. So one of the things we talked about just there, you mentioned data. Right at the beginning, we were talking about sustainability and digitization. So what about analyzing, whether you're doing it locally or cloud-based? What's the interplay between energy monitoring, sustainability, and digitization?
A good question. I think sustainability is a big thing. It's very important, and I think all of us know that it's very important that we do more and come into action. And when we think about actions that could help us here, we quite soon come to the topic of energy management, because this is, of course, one reason or one lever to reduce your emissions and your carbon footprint. So I think energy management is a way to reach sustainability goals. And digitalization is often seen as a bit complex or something, very new, very high invest and so on, but it's not. I think it's just the tool to reach that goal. So
yeah,
with those opportunities that come up with digitalization, we are very easy on the way to do energy management at every scale. So really in the low scale up to the high end level. And this is the way we come to a more sustainable production and more sustainable industries, but also very important to more sustainable buildings.
yeah. Absolutely. In terms of sustainable production, sustainable buildings, it's a massive topic now, as is energy management. So, Dominic, I really thank you for taking the time to talk to Design Spark today on such a big subject. I guess we could talk about this all day if we wanted to, but I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us on Design Spark and share your knowledge with us. And I hope we have you on again real soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Greg, again for having me, and thank all of you for your interest.